Victorian Opera House is packed for the evening. On the stage stands its diva, Maria Diosa, one of the most talented singers the Port-a-lucine Opera House has ever heard. The rest of the cast is just as remarkable, including Angel Pajaro, silver-haired elf maiden who stands off to the side, just watching. Her stunning beauty surpasses even that of the divas, yet there is something unnatural about it. As Maria takes the center stage, the theater lights extinguish, plunging the opera house into an eerie twilight, shadows dancing across the seats from what little light remains. From out of nowhere, a cold and commanding voice fills the arena, its origin indeterminate.
People of Port-a-lucine, mark my words. For as long as Maria Diosa continues to defile this stage with her pitiful performances, this house will become a place of death. You have heard my words of doom. Now learn them to be true.
Just then, the chandelier lurches. The first of its three supports ruptures at its mooring, sending the glass projectile sideways towards the audience. Chaos runs rampant, affecting everyone in the theater, except for Angel, whose gaze is still fixed on Maria. See, this isn't a normal opera house. And Angel isn't just a half-elf understudy. Angel is a Werefox. And this, my friends, is Ravenlore. Warning, this video contains spoilers, both for the characterization of Angel Pajaro and her adventure in Creatures of the Night Werebeasts. It's not my fault if you learn something surprising about a 30-year-old game. You've had plenty of time to be surprised. In the adventure A Night at the Opera, our players will find themselves embroiled in a plot to unseat the reigning diva of the Port-a-lucine Opera House. The part Angel will play in that remains a mystery for a good portion of the adventure. This stunningly beautiful elf maiden is a favorite of the male patrons, although as Maria's understudy, she will always be considered second best. On the outside, she seems like a sweet and innocent performer with talent who's just getting used to the big city, but on the inside, she's cold and calculating. We'll get into how to play her character later on in this video, so stick around for that. However, in order to do so, it is important that we find out how she got to where she is. So let's take a look at Angel's history. Even in such a horrific place like Ravenloft, the music still plays. And in no other domain is this as necessary to remember than Kartakas. This forest-covered land at the foothills of the Balinock Mountains was the birthplace of Angel. Her father, Pietro, well, he was a handsome and a talented singer, and a master at telling tales. Unfortunately for his wife, he was a little too masterful. Angel's mother, Alestra, had met Pietro while they were both performing at various festivals in and around Harmonia. While he was taken in by her beauty and captivated by her voice, some say it was the dowry this elf possessed. Well, that proved to be the most irresistible asset she had to offer. In short order, they were married in a lavish ceremony, and almost immediately, Alestra had given him the gift of a daughter. The new mother would give up her life performing to take care of the little girl, while Pietro, his star would continue to rise. His reputation and his wife's fortune would allow him to lead a rather lavish lifestyle. But as old Count Biggie said, "Mo money, mo problems." Some years later, Pietro's eye would come to rest on a traveler from another land. A beauty who went only by the name Carino, and I personally don't trust anybody with one name. I'm looking at you, Cher. While passing through Kartakas, she was able to seduce the more than willing Pietro. But there was something unnatural about this beauty. Her eyes, they glimmered with the sparkle of a predator who was stalking their prey and looking to make the killing blow. And she would. One night, after one of their dalliances, Carino threatened to reveal Pietro's infidelity, not only to Alestra, but to her whole family as well, to destroy the comfortable, affluent life this performer had built for himself. But more horrific than the truth was what she wanted as a price for her silence. Her price was Angel. Pietro recoiled at the thought of giving this woman his daughter, but having come from nothing, the thought of losing everything was too much to bear. So like a modern-day true crime, Daddy did Mama dirty, and the deal was made. In the small hours of the morning, he was to bring his daughter to the front door and await Carino's return. There was a knock. Only it was not the vagabond temptress who greeted him, but a diminutive silver-haired fox. But its eyes, those eyes told the whole story, that familiar glimmer. Carino had found a new prodigy. A reborn angel would embrace her new life as a foxwoman, and under the protection and tutelage of the elder den mother, she would grow to love her new power and remember her birth parents with disdain. Carino would never let Angel forget the circumstances of her adoption and how carelessly her human father and elfin mother had tossed her away. As a result, she would come to regard all humans, especially males, as playthings, simply existing for nothing more than her pleasure. As Angel would grow older, she would leave Carino and eventually find her way to Port-a-lucine. Her haunting eyes hungered for nothing more than the adoration of men and the gratification of her ego. She would take many lovers. Most of them would end up as a meal once her fleeting interest in them had passed. Her disdain for humanity was hidden under the guise of a naive beauty, just trying to get by in a new city. Angel never forgot the passion in music and the arts Kartakas had bathed her in. And once discovering the opera house, she would immediately move into a small apartment nearby and set her sights on true adoration. With a voice befitting her name, she assumed it would only be a matter of time before she rose to the rank of diva, a spot currently held by Maria Diosa. Maria was a true world-class singer, but Angel had an upper hand. Not only naturally talented, being a pathological werefox, she had the ability to charm men as if she were casting a spell on them. Her rise to fame would be the stuff of legends. There was only one snag that even this master manipulator could not have anticipated. See, the theater was run by Ricard Diosa, Maria's father, and since the untimely death of his wife, she had become even more the center of his world. It would be the love and dedication to his daughter that would negate the effects of Angel's charm. Ricard could not be swayed. This infuriated the foxwoman. This resistance was a new and intolerable experience. Inside she was seething, but on the outside she had to remain the naive girl with the innocent glimmer in her eyes. Unwilling to admit defeat and be denied the spotlight, she would hatch a fiendish plan. Knowing that the opera house possessed a reputation for being haunted, she would use her magic to ramp up the paranormal activity, making it seem more real, more dangerous. She would give a voice to the spirit, and in turn, that spirit would cause the mishaps that put Maria directly in harm's way. She would be in the clear when the vengeful force eventually caused the diva's untimely demise, and Ricard would have no choice but to elevate Angel, Maria's understudy, into the position of diva. Which leads us back to the packed house, the falling chandelier, and a night at the opera that no one would forget. At the start of this adventure, the players will have a random encounter with Maria and her father. Set in any city of the DM's choosing, they will save the father and daughter from a freak carriage accident. Being in their debt, the Diosas will extend an invite to the opera house that evening, offering the players the best seat in the house. They will be in attendance when the ghost makes its presence known and tries to drop a chandelier on Maria's head. Whether or not the players can act quickly enough to prevent any deaths will depend on a lot of factors, but Maria will make it out of the incident okay no matter what. Once the chaos settles, Ricard will once again call on the PCs for aid, this time with the help of defeating the Opera House resident ghost. And at this point in the adventure, it's important to remember the PCs have no reason to suspect some other explanation for the events. With the Opera House shut down, they will have plenty of time to investigate, checking the chandelier, the stage lights, etc. Talking to the people involved with the opera, they'll meet Ricard, Maria, Jean-Pierre, Cambier, and Angel, among other various members of the crew. They will uncover the inner turmoil that exists inside the company, the backstabbing, the nepotism, and the splintered loyalties. Quickly, the focus will shift from the culprit being the paranormal to being quite corporeal as fingers start to get pointed all over the place. Even Maria's own father will be implicated, but through it all, nobody suspects Angel. It'll be solely on the players to discover the clues and connections that point to her as the mastermind. This is a low combat adventure, with the only real battle being at the end if they discover Angel's plot before she is able to complete the job. Because all the while the PCs are snooping around the opera house, this vixen is just waiting for the opportunity to strike. and it's entirely possible they never learn the whole truth. Now, let's talk specifically about playing as Angel. Whether you use this adventure or not, it's important that you understand her motivation. See, the real key for any good portrayal of an NPC is to understand what makes them tick, and understanding were creatures is a pretty tricky thing. In fact, while writing this video, there was so much I learned about them that I'm considering doing a quintessential were creature video diving deep in on all the creatures as a whole. Now let me know down in the comments if this is something that you guys would like me to do. But, back to the topic. As a pathological Werefox, she has 3 forms: the elf maiden aspect, vixen, which is the hybrid aspect, and the silver fox aspect. The elf maiden will attack using any type of small weapon, usually a dagger tipped in poison. As stated before, her beauty has the same effect as the charm spell, and even though it's natural, it can be countered as if it were a spell. She can cast spells as a 4th level wizard and has all the natural resistances of her elven kind. In her hybrid form, she is a grotesque and dangerous opponent. Her bite inflicts a decent amount of damage, but the real risk is the transference of her condition. A human or elven woman who loses half or more of their hit points when bitten will transform into a werefox in 3 days, unless steps are taken immediately to prevent this. Women of different species and males cannot contract lycanthropy from werefoxes, so they usually just succumb to their injuries when they're in combat with her. Her final form is that of a silver-haired fox. It's the same form that her quote-unquote mother, Garino, took when she adopted her. It's by far her weakest form. She can only do as much damage as a common fox, and she is also unable to transmit lycanthropy to anyone in this form. Angel is a hardened soul, given away by her father, transformed by a surrogate werefox mother, and taught to survive by using humanity, all the while feeling superior to everyone around her. She's had to constantly hide that side of herself, presenting to the world this image of a blushing innocent. So much so that all the members of the theater troupe will come to her defense if any of the players start to sense something is up with her. But her love of the arts and performing is real. It's the only time that she will feel a true connection with the people around her. So is her desire to stand on the center stage and be adored by the people of Port-a-lucine. Now that begs the question, if she holds humanity in such low regard, why does she seek their adulation? Is it the one way she can publicly display her inner sense of superiority? Is it her way of proving to herself that not only is she a superior creature to her birth parents, but she's a more accomplished artist as well? I suppose these answers are up to you. There's a lot of potential with this character, almost too much to have her eliminated at the end of the adventure. Perhaps a more interesting story would be to have Angel complete her rise to divahood, either in spite of the player's efforts or in absentia of them. Perhaps in your game, a mysterious traveler shows up to her with an offer. Leave and become the diva of the new opera house that I have just commissioned, one built in direct opposition to the famed Port-a-lucine center. Or maybe she feigns defeat, and after a certain point in time she seeks out the party and becomes a helpful NPC to them. Through the use of her magic, she can look completely different. And she embeds herself into their lives and will pick the worst time for the players to reveal who she truly is and enact a revenge. She certainly has the patience and willpower to do so. One thing's for sure, whatever you choose to do in your world, make sure you remember that even though there is great darkness in Ravenloft, there are moments of light and beauty. Art still exists, music still exists, love still exists. Careful not to strip these things out of your game, because it's only by keeping them in the world that Ravenloft still feels like something worth fighting for. So, when you have some downtime for your PCs and you want them to really experience the city, go have them check out what its art district has to offer. And if they see a beautiful maiden with a glimmer in her eye and a voice of an angel, they should keep their guard up, for it's hard to resist the dulcet tones of the Opera House Vixen. Thank you all so very much. If you've gotten to this point in the video, you're my hero. Thank you for sticking around and watching it. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you've enjoyed this content, you know how to stay abreast the next time that I post some of it. Share this to your friends if you liked it. Go back and take a look at this video here if you're interested in lore. It is one of the most dangerous books in Ravenloft. It's one of my favorite videos that deals with Renton and Warstock. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do the total rare creature video. Thank you for joining me as we unearth the secrets of the mist here on Ravenlore. Lycanthropy, lycanthropy, the itis. That's it.